In this update, we got a completely different weather pattern coming. Let's take you back over the last 7 days for that last week of October. And wow, we had a significant cold blast that came out of Canada that dropped temperature anomalies all the way 20-25 degrees below average. And that colder air plunged all the way down into the deep south, while much of the east has been plenty warm. But now that colder air is continuing to moderate and shifting eastbound in the days to come. And look at the snow that left behind. We had some pretty significant snows across a good part of Montana through Wyoming, as well as into the Dakotas. Then we had that other snowstorm that broke out into the Rockies. In fact, Denver picked up 7.5 inches of snow. It was like one of their earliest biggest snows since 2009. And there were sporadic snow showers even through Nebraska. And then we had like a little clipper system that came through portions of the Minneapolis region, and there were plenty of pictures I've seen through Wisconsin as well as into portions of Michigan that also picked up some snow for this time of year for Halloween. And look at the rainfall, folks. We had some extreme rain down there in Texas. In fact, southeast of Dallas picked up 14 inches of rain. They had extreme flooding down there. Unfortunately, several lives were lost within those floodwaters overnight. It was an overnight event. It rained almost 10 inches in about a 3-hour time span that caused all that devastating flooding down there. So we had some pretty significant rains, but definitely these areas definitely needed the rain as well. So if you're new to the channel and like detailed weather breakdowns, hit the subscribe button and you're in. You get all my daily content on this channel. And I would love to reach 225,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And you can help me get there by subscribing to the channel and following all my daily content. So let's take a look at the setup going forward, because we still got that cold blast. Now it has shifted and dove all the way down into the deep south, and it continues to shift eastbound in the days to come with the coldest temperatures that you'd likely seen up here into the east, while much of the west is starting to trend on the warmer side as we've got a ridge going to be coming back into the Pacific Northwest. This ridge will slowly start to build and actually shift eastward over time in the days to come. But right now, we still dealing with that little clipper system that came through a good part of Minnesota and through portions of Wisconsin, through Michigan. Now that sets its sights over extreme portions of New England. And so they're going to be starting to see the snow showers up there. You can actually see where that blue line is as their freezing line. So yes, anything north of that into the Vermont region, into New Hampshire, especially heading up into Maine, they're starting to see actually some snow starting to fly across these regions through some lake effect type snows and sporadic snow showers. And that snow will actually going to be shifting up there into Maine over the next day or two as the cold air will continue to remain in place. And you'll be seeing sporadic snow showers on the backside of that low pressure center. So going forward, let's take a look at the big picture, because things are going to be changing drastically. Look at the jet stream. I'm kind of showing you this because the jet stream is pretty far south, and we're going to have what they call zonal flow starting to develop. I showed you that ridge is going to be building in out west. That is going to continue to shift a little bit further off in the east. So eventually this colder air will be replaced by that ridge of high pressure as the temperatures start to moderate, and will actually start trending above average. But we're going to be watching a low pressure center that's going to be entering the Pacific Northwest, and it's got a lot of rain associated with it. So we're going to be starting to see some heavier rains starting to break out in a good part of the coastal regions of Washington and Oregon, and especially in there into northern California. You can actually see it a little bit better on the water precipitational guidance. Kind of highlights that low pressure center going to be entering off the coastal regions, and it's got that steady stream of moisture coming in off the Pacific, and that's going to be pulling its energy and then dumping it inland. It's mainly going to be impacting the coastal regions. So the further you live, closer you live to the coast, the heavier rains you're going to be picking up. The further away you live off the coast into the interior regions, that rain is going to subside big time, and you won't get nearly as much. while the rest of the country, a good part of the country, especially these areas are further off into the south, much of the southwest, much of the southern central plains, and actually even much of the southeast is going to be starting to dry out. So if we take a look at the overall big picture, over the next 5 days, it kind of shows the trend, right? The ridge is starting to enter the picture off the west coast now, and that will continue to shift eastbound towards Nevada, getting through the Four Corners regions, then end up in a good part of Colorado where you always had that snow, and that's going to replace with those well above average temperatures. And the colder air are still in place, but will definitely tend to moderate as that ridge will slowly start to take over across really a good part of the country. And the breakdown on the precipitation front, you can see the zonal flow, folks. I mean, all that, you had all that rain in Texas last week and much of Arkansas, and now you're next to nothing. It's just so enjoy the really nice weather that's going to be in store in the days to come, because yeah, it's a little bit of a chill in the air, but it's going to replace with those warmer temperatures. But the zonal flow is definitely real, and it's got a lot of sinking air and a lot of drier and a lot of sunshine underneath this. All the action will be further to the north. There's that rain that's going to be coming in from the Pacific Northwest, and that's going to be shifting eastbound. The lower the precipitation, the further inland you get. And then we'll just you have to go pretty far north up here into the northern portions of Wisconsin and to Michigan, where you're going to have these other systems that's coming out of Canada. There's another one comes in early next week. This is another fairly low pressure center that's coming in out of southern Canada that's going to be impacting portions of Vermont and New Hampshire, as well as into Maine. You're going to be elevating those snows across those regions as well, where the rest of the country will continue to heat up. And so especially by Tuesday, so heading into early part of next week on Tuesday, these temperatures are really going to be warming big time. You're going to be seeing a dramatic shift of where you are now and where you're going, with probably 30 degrees difference in temperatures what you're seeing today, as most of these areas across Texas will be actually into the 80s by then, as the cooler air, the colder air will be bottled up well to the north across that zonal flow type setup. And so by the time we head into, say, next Wednesday, so this is like, say, next Wednesday time frame, November the 8th, we still got that dominating ridge. We've got dominating southwest winds are going to be coming off, very warm winds, and we'll be watching another trough that's going to be coming in off the Pacific Northwest. That's got some cooler pocket aloft. Nothing severe with this, but another instability where that cooler pocket aloft could start to ring out some additional snow showers by the time you get into the middle of next week across portions of, say, Idaho into Montana again, through this region across the Intermountain West. And that will continue to shift a little bit further east going into that Thursday night, early morning Friday time frame, as this will be propagating from kind of west to eastbound, and those rain showers will be activated again across a good part of Iowa, through Wisconsin, through portions of Illinois, and as well as Indiana and Ohio, portions of West Virginia. You'd have to go up into, again, far northern portions of Michigan to even talk about even sporadic snow showers that's going to be ringing out of that low pressure center. And that's going to continue to shift eastbound. So by the time we head into, say, next Friday time frame, you have the heavier light to moderate rains are going to be draped across this region up here into the mid-Atlantic and getting into parts of the Northeast into New England. And you have to go pretty much in the mountain regions to ring out that snow and be cold enough to be all snow across these regions. But a pretty good, significant low pressure center, 999 millibar low pressure. But it's mainly going to be in portions of Ontario and Quebec regions, but especially into the northern portions of Vermont and New Hampshire, as well as into Maine. But you can actually see this thin line of green, and then the red, that's your freezing line. So essentially, basically, all the areas that are northwest of this line will actually be at sea below freezing temperatures by the time we wake up on that Friday, November the 10th time frame. And then, yes, this is a cold front, but it's not going to be nearly as strong as possibly what you've seen as of late. So this is going to be after the big warm up. This won't be until the 10th and 11th time frame, but eventually that will move out. This trough will move in and then bring down some colder air, be replaced by then, and lowering those temperatures probably about 20 degrees by then after you get the big warm up. So that'll be a significant change. Another change that might not take place until that would be 10 days from now, folks. So overall, here's the breakdown. So here's the snow over the next 10 days. So you'll have those sporadic snows. They're going to be entering the Intermountain West regions, especially the higher elevations up here into California, through Idaho and through Montana and back into Wyoming here, enter the Rockies, and then you'll have these little low pressure centers. You got to go pretty far north, right? You got to go pretty far north to see any snow out of this deal. But yes, if you live in Maine, that's probably going to be the most favorite area to see snow over the next 7 days, besides the Intermountain West regions and the mountain regions. And the breakdown on the precipitation front really shows the zonal flow that will likely take place for about the first 10 days of November, folks. So we're going to start to dry out big time across much of the southern plains and much of the southeast as well. Replaced with that zonal flow, you still can continue to remain high and dry in the desert southwest and a good part of central and southern California. It's further to the north on the northern side of that zonal flow. That's where all the activity is going to be, as these systems will be coming in from the Pacific Northwest and can be traversing across this boundary and eventually pick up some heavier rains across portions of Idaho, Indiana here and Ohio, and through portions of West Virginia, and heading up into Pennsylvania through New Jersey, and eventually heading into parts of the Northeast as well. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch my next update where I protect you for and after storm.